What's up, YouTube? We back, episode 6. Welcome back to Scars to Success. For our new viewers, I'm Demontrae.
I'm Donald.
I'm Key.
Our guest that we do have on, and let's get into this episode.
And today will be special because we do have a live audience here. We got
We
got four very important friends. So if you hear some chuckles, some laughs, some inputs, it's all out of love. So
Funny game.
a special episode for y'all. So the first question that we want to ask, is the introduction. Could you give us the introduction as to who you are?
Yeah, so I'm Key. Government name is Kieran. I was born in Orange County, Anaheim. I was raised in the Bay, though, so I went from Orange County to the Central Valley, which like Modesto, moved to the Bay, back to the Central Valley, and then I stayed from like third grade till high school in the Bay. Moved to Merced, so back to the Central Valley. That's where I met this guy right here. A couple of my people, actually everybody out here in the audience that we got today. And then now I'm a 916 resident. That's what it looks like.
You feel me? Hey, so with that being said, we're gonna dive into what you do and the impacts that you have, as well as like your career and your goals. So the first thing that we want to ask to introduce you to the watchers, how were you introduced to music? When did you know that was something that you had a real passion for?
I would say in terms of introduced to music, that was probably from my mom's. My mom raised me on like Tevin Campbell and the like Boyz II Men and Babyface and what's it called? Stylistics. You know, I throw it back a little bit more, like a couple years. That's what I grew up on, and then as I that kind of became like my genre, like growing up, right? Like I didn't really listen to nothing else. As that genre progressed, then you started getting like the Ushers and the 50 Cents and everything like that. I would say that's when I got into music. In terms of when it became my passion, I always liked singing. That's kind of where it started. And then as I got better into singing, you know how families are, like when your kid has that one talent, they kind of just
In
like
front of the whole family,
yeah,
like, come on, get up
do
here.
that in front of everybody.
Get up here.
So I did that, and then high school is when I realized I could also write a little bit. My writing teachers always liked how I wrote, and then I always liked music, and then I took a stab at it one time, and it was pretty cool because I started realizing like I could catch like the pockets pretty well. I didn't know anything about music. I just knew how it felt, or like how it made me feel, how it made other people feel, and that shit was always cool to me.
Nick Cannon can't read, but he can feel it and make the beat though. Like, I got it though.
So that's kind of how it started. In terms of what I used at the time, I mean, it was really just like a laptop and a Rock Band microphone, and that was that. Like, that's how everything started, was just a laptop and that Rock Band microphone that you plug into the Xbox. I found out you could plug it into the computer too, and then it was just different after that.
He found his sound from there.
And this was in high school, right? Or,
Yeah, this was in high
so
school.
like, when did you know that was a profession that you wanted to pursue? And like, how did that initially start? Like, how did you know that music is it, and I want to pursue this at all costs?
That's a good question. I feel like I kind of stepped into it because this was something that I was gonna do regardless of. Like, when I figured out that I wanted to make music, money wasn't the first thing that came to mind. It was just, I knew I wanted to make music, and then from there, it progressed into something of like why not figure out how to make bread from the shit? You know what I mean? Which is cool. Like, I feel like everybody can benefit from that, because when you start doing something that you love, I feel like the money can always follow. And if you were gonna do it anyways, then why not benefit from it? You know what I mean? Same thing, like
America.
with the pod, like when I like to see everybody get big, and like I like to see everybody get what they worth, and that's, I feel like doing it is priceless, and then you kind of get the money after. So I really couldn't give you a moment that I realized that. I kind of just stepped into that.
It was
to that
always
role.
there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Solid.
Would you say kind of like it was like a passion in a way, kind of like you just?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was a passion for sure, and I mean, like I said, if I wasn't making a dime now, I mean, it's not like I'm making hella money right now, right? But it's the fact that I was gonna do it regardless, and it's not that I don't get any benefit from it, right? It's not that I'm just doing it just to do it. I also do it because, for me, like it helps me.
Therapy and shit.
Yeah, it's like that. It's like helps me deal with shit, and it's also I've noticed as of late, it's kind of like my anchor. Like I know how some people say that like working out or like going to the gym is their anchor. Prior to this album that I recently dropped, I was like on crunch time, so I was waking up like, and Dylan out there in the audience will tell you I was waking up like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Before work, because I start work at like 7:30, and that was my anchor of like getting up. I do my workout for 45 minutes to an hour, and then that gives me, hour and a half, 2 hours, depending on how fast I did my workout, to just work on the album and like get something done for the album. And then I realized the album's out. I just kind of been enjoying my time. I've been waking up at 7.
Chilling. He said, not going as hard no more.
Yeah. So that's when I realized that music was my anchor above everything else, and it kind of kept me disciplined with the rest of my schedule, which is good too, because I didn't really have a schedule for music back then, which I do now. So once the studio gets back into its place, I'm currently like working on redoing everything. I'll be back on that schedule most likely. I can see myself being on that schedule.
Hey, that's solid.
It is for sure.
And it helps them keep you motivated and strategic. And,
sure.
That's solid.
Yeah.
Who or what influenced you on your music journey or played a big part of it early on?
I would say family-wise, my grandma. I grew up around a lot of people who put practicality above everything, and I think that's fair. But go ahead.
As far as music, right?
Yeah,
with practicality.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like in terms of, the family's always about having the backup plan, or like making sure you go to school and making sure you do X, Y, and Z. And that's not to say that's a bad thing. That's definitely not a bad thing. So don't nobody take that as a bad thing. But it was my grandma who always told me to chase whatever dream I had. And she's big on like praying and making sure everybody's good. I mean, you know how grandparents are.
Well protected.
Yeah, grandparents, they always want to look out for everybody. And I would say that she's probably the one who got everything started, because like I said, I started with the Rock Band microphone and everything like that, but before I even ventured into everything, she gave me the initial bread that I had put into like my first studio, and that was, I think it was like a wrap from there. And then it was just a matter of building the foundation that led to everything that I have now. And I mean, you've seen what I had now. It's crazy, and the vibe is there.
Hey, that studio, y'all, I'm going to tell you, it's worth something. And I would say it's just a beauty to see the evolution. And as you keep going, I think you're building upon prior knowledge, prior lessons, prior investments, whether it's financial or even emotional. Like you said, it's worth something when somebody invests in you, and it's not just the money. It's the actual belief to help you power through. Like you said, the practicality beliefs, where it's like, you're not going to make that much money from music, but it's like you said, regardless of if I made a dime, this is what I want to do. And that's real dedication and passion.
And it's not even like I'm at a point now where it's not even belief anymore. Like, it's got to be knowing. Like, I think knowing is definitely different than belief. Like, even faith is different than belief, because if you really got faith, then you also practice. You know what I mean? So, when you practice, it's hard not to hit what you're trying to reach.
I want y'all to understand that was the gym right there.
Shout out to Graham, man. Because Graham, she sounded like she was a drive behind the engine right now. She started a big support system.
Yeah, just could you explain that to the viewers, let them know where you went and how did that influence your music?
For sure. I would say, and this is going to be a common theme, I'm pretty sure, on this podcast, but, like, going to UC Merced was cool, man. Like, that shit was fun, man.
A lot of Merced heads on this podcast.
Hey, you start out with the network that you know, and then from there it builds because everybody knows something.
Right. Like you said, I think it was on Dylan's episode, if you're not going for education, then you're at least going for the networking, for sure.
For real.
And that shit is real. I got the practical thing done. So I got a bachelor in science for computer science. Definitely wasn't the easiest shit. It wasn't as easy as I thought it was gonna be.
Hey, that's a graduate right there. Y'all better respect that.
For sure.
But on top of getting the education, like, I met some of the best people that I know. I learned a lot. In terms of music, I definitely learned a lot about myself too, because it gave me a lot of time to play around, like, and the independence that we got, right? Like, we build our own schedule, we do our own thing, and consequently, like, we learn our own lessons. You know what I mean? So
facts.
It was a lot of skipping class, part of college, I'm not gonna lie.
Freshman year, psychology, we're sorry, still passed.
Facts, yeah,
but,
still passed.
Don't follow these ways. Follow your own ways, but just know that's part of the journey.
For sure. Like, the learning that we did, I would say the first couple years, since the classes that we had were easy, I think we did a lot of learning about life and, like, people, and that was always dope. That was always valuable. I would say those times it was a lot of, like, coming out of your shell. I think that's what a lot of people do in college, because they don't have their parents around them anymore.
The wildin'.
They can be whatever they want to be.
Outside of wildin', it's like you said, still trying to figure who we are, being surrounded by people that are just like us. We don't know. We're trying to figure out what career do we want, or what type of person do we want to be, what type of legacy do we want to have.
Shit, who you want to be around. That's another thing, yeah.
It's all those things that ponder in your mind, and you're constantly trying to figure it out while you're still balancing the work life, the home life, the school life, the personal, the relationships. It really does build that bridge between being an adult, because the consequences are different. When you don't, in college, the consequences are minimal. Not saying they ain't real, but they're minimal. Whereas in real life, you can't go back. You don't pay your rent, they own you. Like, so, you feel me? So it's a big difference that helps develop and like you said, help you understand in that isolation, but also when you're in a group, when you're surrounded by people in that type of environment.
Yeah, for sure. I would say college was definitely something that I feel everybody should go through, but the way that you go about it is totally on you.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
That's facts. Hey, solid take.
I didn't go to college, so I couldn't tell you nothing about college, but from the experience, I mean, not the experience, but from the stories that I have been told, I know it's not easy.
It's worth it, and I just say, like, it's all about making time.
Yeah, and that's another route though. Like, definitely, there are plenty of people that don't, and they still accomplish whatever it is that they want, and they get the things done that they need to do. Like, school's not for everybody. Like, for me, I'm still not sure if school's for me, so I don't know if I'll go back, but I am glad that I went through it and that I have the option to. And the fact that what makes college great is there is no age limit to it. You could go whenever you want to. You could learn whatever you want to.
Hey, you going to see some people in your class, and don't nobody make fun of you, bro. This ain't high school, bro. We understand you here to change your life, and that's what we all here to do. So it's like that communal understanding of like we're here to get to the next level. Some of us really enjoy it. Some of us using it for the degree and what that brings. But at the end of the day, we all are willing to put in that work. And it's good to be surrounded by people that have that same motor, that drive.
It's like it gives you that like kind of taste of like a championship mentality when you're playing a sport. You know what I mean? Like everybody is there to achieve the same goal. And like as bad as uniformity, some people might think uniformity is, I think when you're chasing something and you also have that much freedom, you kind of start to learn other things about yourself, and it teaches you the soft skills of life, I guess you could say. And that for sure gets people through a lot of shit.
That's a journey itself.
Hey, I agree.
But how difficult was it to get through school, but also follow through with your music career?
Getting through school, I would say what was different was the academic ass whooping that I got because high school and under was so easy. Like I was getting through my classes no problem, including my AP classes. I was in there no problem, and I was getting everything done on time, high GPA, still played sports, all that shit. So when I got to college and then I started going to class, not only were these classes longer,
out the door,
they were harder. Like the classes was longer, the classes were harder. Money was tied into it now. Like if I didn't get the value out of the class, then it's just kind of like I was wasting the bread.
You gotta pay for the classes.
Yeah, like
and money is time.
Yes, probation was like upon at a certain semester, but I think that the people around me made the experience worthwhile. I think that what I learned made the experience worthwhile, and just the skills that I developed while I was there. Like I think like a lot of people, I don't necessarily remember all the academic things that I learned, right? But what college taught you to do was get the answer. It was never really about like being right all the time, if that makes sense.
It's about you a good student no matter if your teacher was good or bad, as long as you pass. That's really what a good student is. Like college teaches you like, hey, I ain't trying to pay for this class again. I ain't trying to spend 3 more months in this class again. So I'm gonna do what I gotta do to pass. And some people do it different ways and other people got different methods, but it's all about just ensuring you cross that finish line, because that's what life is. It's making sure you get to that next step and chase your dreams and find that answer, like you said.
Yeah, for sure. And this is coming from somebody like one of the most accomplished like academics that I know currently. You know what I'm saying? Like,
over there now. You know, I'm a regular student, man. But I think I would say like college taught me like regardless of grades, it's really about just your effort. Like some people can get A's effortlessly. Some people can get C's with the most effort. It's really all about just ensuring you give your all to make sure you get out that thing and you do what you got to do to succeed. Sometimes you got to do different methods. Sometimes you got to do study groups. Sometimes you got to do it by yourself. Sometimes you got to practice. Sometimes you got to take tests.
You could be the kid that like everything is easy for, and then you'll get that one moment or that one class where it's like
it show you your place in the world, bro. Like I was number 1 in this place, but when I got here, I'm number 3. I'm number 4, and it really teaches you how to lean on like your strengths and understand your weaknesses as well. Like, okay, I got to work on this to get what I want. But
gotta work on those weaknesses. Gotta turn those into strengths for sure.
You feel me? And it's just a constant challenge. Like I think people, you know, there's a big misconception that we can do something that makes the work stop. The work is always gonna be there. It's just about your mentality. Once you understand, okay, I built this as a part of my day, boom, you're not even worried about the time that it takes anymore. You're just understanding, get this done, now I can go from there. So it's always about that adaptability, whether it's the environment, the curriculum, the assignment, the job, the promotion, anything like that. It just teaches you like, okay, I'm gonna try this method that doesn't work. I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna try this until it works, and then we build upon that.
And that'll follow for college and after. Like it really just.
How did you decide what genre of music that you wanted to do? Because we'll get into the album later, but you can do everything. You can rap, you can sing, you can melody, you can do. You have a lot of unique gifts. And how did you decide what type of lane you wanted to create for yourself?
Shit, it wasn't country.
Hey, no country. Hey, no shade, but it's just his lane. You feel me?
I'm just saying. I everybody who does creative work, I always support you guys. Whatever it is, like that's your passion. I'm like the number one bad influence. I will tell you to do that shit damn near at your detriment because I feel like everybody should pursue whatever it is that they want in life, practical or not, right? But back to what you were asking me in terms of like the genre and how I knew, it goes back to what I was saying about like how I was raised with my mom. It was a lot of R&B, and then
The influence.
yeah, and there's this one moment that's like it's a super casual random moment, but for some reason I always remember it. Like when I was a kid, it was like Usher, and then out of nowhere 50 just like dominated everything, radio, sales, whatever. And that was my first intro to rap when I don't know how old I was, maybe like 5 or so. I was in the car with my cousin, and she caught me singing the wrong words. I didn't know what he was saying. I didn't know what 50 was saying. I think it was in the club at the time. I was like 5 years old singing that shit, and that's kind of my first intro to rap too. And I would say that's a moment that it kind of got injected in my mind. And 50 is a melodic rapper, so that's like, you know what I mean? That kind of, he was influential in that way. And then when I got to, I want to say about high school, the thought came in about, like I said, with the writing and everything and doing that. Then I played around with some ideas, and I think the first, I don't know, 50 tracks maybe that you do, you're still finding yourself. Shit, I'm still finding myself now, but I have a couple tracks out there that was before the time of me finding out like what I want to do personally, like
Before it's TheRealKey.
Yeah, facts. Like when I first got to college, I feel like my sound was heavily influenced by P&B. Rest in peace. Rest in peace, Rock. Like that shit was mad influential to me because I felt like he was somebody who was doing both too, and his sound was different at the time. And I think there comes this like natural feeling of wanting to emulate the people that you idolize. So that was like, at the time I was like P&B or like Drake or Tory, in terms of like music, right? And what they're able to do and what they're capable of. And those are all people that could do both. Like they could do the R&B thing or they could do the rap thing. And that's kind of where everything stemmed from. But then I started realizing, like, I think it was when I was, funnily enough, when I was doing ad-libs, I'm like, man, ad-libs isn't really for me like that. Because sometimes I'm not. I was recording the ad-libs one time, and I was like, damn, I feel kind of dumb, but like, I'll probably get back into it, because sometimes I listen to, like, my old music, and I was like, damn, the effects are way better on this than it is on my new music, but then my new music means more, or, like, it's more me, or whatever.
Different values.
Yeah, and I feel like I got to combine those two. But I would say that's kind of the roadmap of how I got into basically what you saw on the album, right, which was, like, a little bit of everything.
And that album, oh my gosh.
We hope that y'all go stream it, go listen
Please
to
do,
it.
Please do.
It's worth a listen, and
Definitely.
and like you said, it gives you everything.
The vibes is there. I'm talking about all the way around. He got music for the ladies. He got vibe music. He got
chill music. Think to it. You feel me? Everything that you need, and I think that is just a small representation or small fraction of the person that you are, and it's great to see that exuded in the music. So I'm happy to be blessed to even hear that, but to also know you personally and have that friendship with you.
My thing is like, even, and this includes like even people that I fuck with or I don't fuck with, my bad. I feel like there's way more space than people think that there is at the top. Like I feel like
I agree.
I feel like there's so many people that feel like in order to win, you gotta be, shoving people out or like doing this or whatever. But I feel like everybody can win genuinely. Like even people that I don't fuck with. I do not hold hate in my heart for none of that shit. Like if you have an avenue that you pursue and you want to find success in, I do believe that for the majority of people, there's room for success. And I think that success is just a reflection of the work that you put in, or the way that you took advantage of certain opportunities. And so, like you see with most people, like you guys have been putting in work, you guys get the extra viewer or the extra subscription or the extra whatever. Like for me, it was the extra, streamers or followers, or like I'll get somebody who DMs me some shit that I did not expect. You know what I mean? Like shit like that about in terms of support and everything like that. And so at the end of the day, it's just, I think when you find that, your definition or what you view as success also changes too. So I think that's something to keep in mind.
What about choosing between the side of artist and studio engineer? Tell us a little bit about that.
Between artist and studio engineer, I think this goes back to like the conversation we were having before the episode even started, was like the wearing a lot of hats. You know what I mean? Because there are some people who have that dedicated job of video editor. You know what I mean? Like it kind of plays into something where I thought that being an artist was just that, and then when I like started unwrapping all the layers,
it's much more expansive.
Yeah, for sure. And I was just like, damn, like, so if I want my song here, then I gotta do this. Or like if I want my song to sound as good as this, then I gotta do X, Y, and Z. And it's like, I didn't realize that, but the fact that I learned it, and then on top of that, I applied myself, and I taught myself how to do certain things because I still wanted to get my product, I guess you could say, to a certain point. Then I think that's a testament to like how much I love this shit, or how much passion I put into this shit.
To the craft.
Yeah, because you're over here learning some shit that you really didn't think you wanted to do when you came into it. But now I've grown an appreciation for it because I understand that like the engineer in the studio is just as important as the artist or the producer, or or any other piece that falls into that like chain of events that gives you what you want.
The song.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't understand what's behind whatever the product is.
Yeah.
But that goes across the board, because even food is like that. You know what I mean? People buy some snacks. They don't know what goes into that. People don't know what goes into the chicken that they buy off the shelf.
It's
probably
just surface level for us. And,
yeah.
That's just part of being a consumer is, we get to pick and choose how deep we want to go into it. But when you're a creator, or you're a designer, or you're an artist, it's much more than just that first level. And that's, that, like you said, it's part of that gratification, that success definition, because you can go into it thinking, I want everybody to like my stuff, but then you realize, like, damn, if I get 20 people out of 200, that's good for me.
It's a good start.
And it's understanding that, and just defining, like, you want it to be a testament of the work that you define as success.
Facts.
And it's that constant evolution. Success might sound like this for me 2 years in, 5 years in, 10 years in. And it's all about just learning and being able to produce what you want to be out there. And
everybody sets their own. Like, everybody's success is very different for sure.
The turtle won the race because he
compare.
went his own pace. You feel me? That's exactly how it goes. And when you started releasing your music, how did you know what type of project you want to put out, from singles to even mixtapes? Because we'll dive into your first official album, but for a long time, you altered between the two. Yeah.
For me, I would say it was mainly like when I first started making music, it was a lot of just as soon as I finish something, put it out. As soon as I finish something, put it out. And that was cool for a little bit until I started realizing that the stuff that I was putting out, like, I started catering it to be, a single. Or like I was rushing certain things, or I might have put it out, but then I realized like I didn't really like how I did a certain part. Maybe I didn't hit a note right. Maybe I should have made that line better, or X, Y, and Z. And so with my first project, I really wanted to take my time and just get a collection of music that I felt like I could be proud of. Not only that, but also display the different things that I could do. Because when I was doing singles, it was a very particular brand of music, and I wanted to stray away from that. Like, I didn't want to feel like if I did something completely left that would be on my project, that it just sounds like I'm making different music now. So I wanted to do a project that showed, I can do everything that you guys saw on the project. So now if I start doing singles again, nobody will ever come back and be like, oh, like you're switching up now. No, I'm not switching up. I've always been able to do it. It's just that I was focused on singles at the time. Now I could put out whatever I want and be like, look at the album. I was already doing this, right? The skill set was already there. Like I knew I could rap before I put the project out, but I never put out any raps because I had all these it was kind of rap, but it was like melodic kind of stuff, right? And so I wanted to start the album like that. Like, I wanted to start with rap because
with that freestyle.
Yeah,
You
6
feel
minutes,
me?
just like 6 minutes of just straight, just rapping. I didn't need a hook. I didn't want to do all the extra shit. I just wanted to show everybody that I could rap. And then at the end, I did the same thing. I did another freestyle, and it was just a matter of just me wanting to show at the beginning so that way I could prove to everybody, and then at the end so that way I could remind y'all.
He said,
not to forget it.
Drop another one. I'm not playing with you, bro.
So, got a point to prove.
Yeah. Because I knew I was going to put all the melodic stuff on the album too, but I wanted that in the middle, and I didn't want anybody to forget that I could do the other shit. And that was important to me. That might not be important to everybody, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you have the people that do strictly a rap album, and then they'll have a separate release that's strictly
for
just
a different
music.
genre. Yeah.
And that's cool. I may consider doing that one day, but for now, I just wanted to get that out there and get that out the way. And how it came out was something I was proud of, and that's what made it release in the first place, And I was also done with the feeling of telling people that I was working on an album, and it's been 2 years, 2.5 years, and it's still not out. So I was like, I had to draw the line somewhere, and then really just
you got the tangible
keep my
body
head
of
down
work.
and just work and get the shit done.
How did it feel once you fully completed it? Just that feeling is just
I'm done. After everything, going through it, A&R, all of that, just understand okay, these are the tracks that's gonna be on it. How did you feel once you were all right, now I'm ready to share this with the world?
I feel like it's not too different from just even doing a single, because it's I don't know if you get this with videos, but it's a lot of should I change this, or should I do this or that now?
It's you versus you.
Yeah, it's you can definitely overproduce or over edit or over mix or over record. You can definitely do that. So I think the most important thing about doing what you said and making that decision of putting something out is to just get out of your head. Right. And then also realizing when are you hurting a piece of work more than you're helping it, and deadlines for yourself. I feel like when you give yourself deadlines, then you can make this line in your head of like, okay, no matter where it's at, this has got to be what it is.
Right.
Because it's art, right? Like there's always gonna be something new or something better, right? Like there are certain tracks on that album that were way more recent than other tracks on that album, and I was thinking like, well, shit, is that old track still my sound now? Like, am I still gonna be doing that? But that's not necessarily the case. Like, it's the fact that you're capable of doing that, and it's the fact that like you're still proud of what you made way back when. Yeah, it might not be the sound that you made now, but who's to say that you're not gonna make that again? You know what I mean? And also just making it mesh. I think that was the hardest part.
Right, just figuring out the flow.
Yeah, because it was
the
a lot of
theme.
different shit. That was definitely harder than I thought it was gonna be.
That's something I'll say I appreciate from artists is when it's carefully constructed. The A&R, we're gonna make sure it's a certain amount of songs. We're gonna make sure it goes in this order. We're gonna have the interlude, the freestyle, the rap song, the R&B song. Just trying to, I guess, get a peek into your mind of what message you want to send out, or just even the experiences that you want to share. So as I heard that album, I'm just like, the transitions for me are amazing. Like, I think transitions are really big. Like, I want to be able to go from this song to that song and not feel as if like, oh, I can tell that it's different. No, like when it flows and it's just like, oh, this could have been a part 2. This could have been the last 2 minutes of this song.
Yeah.
That's where I was really just astounded, and not saying that as just your friend, but as somebody that tries to be critical in the realm of movies and video editing and things like that. I really did enjoy that.
Yeah, that's why I respect your opinion about it a lot. Was that so when I got the review back, man, I appreciate that for sure. I wanted to create like this roller coaster of what the vibe was, because I didn't want it to be like a slope where it just kind of followed the line of like how the energy was. Like, maybe I just did all rap at the beginning and then I transitioned it into like an R&B vibe. I wanted to be able to display it like in the first 5 tracks, like give somebody something of everything.
Right.
And then kind of bring the energy back up and then back down, so that way they don't lose interest, but at the same time they're able to at least for one time at minimum like absorb that whole body of work, how it was.
All right. That first experience.
Yeah, and then decide like, do they want to go back to a certain track, because everybody's gonna have their favorites from an album,
the ones that they like.
I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't want nobody to get choosy like couple tracks in and then they don't care about
the rest of the
project.
Yeah.
That's dope how you can control that though, like as far as the tracks wise, like you can make it flow into how you want the listeners to listen to it.
And that's a mastermind quality that we talk about in artists like La Russell or Russ or even J. Cole, just wearing all those hats like we talked about. So who do you see as somebody that's helped you be more efficient in each role within your music, from artist to producer to marketing, networking, and more? Just because I've seen you have features, be featured, do marketing on your own, do your own covers, release your own music, master your own music, like all of these things, mixing and everything. It's just who is somebody that you see that has helped you become better at these roles?
Shit. If YouTube was a person,
combine that motherfucker man or something.
It would be YouTube, but that's a good point. Like I do see people like that. Like La Russell is killing shit. Like he's going crazy. He's doing everything on his own. Same thing with Russ. He kind of pioneered that shit and like that wave of, expose the industry. You only need to be independent. Yeah. That I would say actually that played an influence on me as well in college. I know like Chance was preaching all the independence shit before that,
right?
But I think with how aggressive Russ went with it, that's kind of where, like that's kind of where I saw that route, right? Like you don't need to do all the tricks, or like you don't need to meet all these people or pay X, Y, and Z to get to a certain point. Because most people that you know that are successful in music, a lot of the times they are signed, right? And people look at being signed and think that like it's this ultimate achievement or whatever. But now that the internet has been exposing stuff like that, it's like you see that it's not really all that it's cracked up to be.
It's not always your best entrance.
Facts. And you don't keep your control, right? I would hate for me to be forced to become a factory for some shit that I want to make. Like, because at that point, then everything suffers. Like, the quality of music suffers. My love for the game suffers, right? So it's just kind of like seeing people make it towards that route definitely was something that helped me push forward. In terms of like the marketing, I have a friend back home who graduated in business marketing, and that's one of the closest people to me. You've been acquainted with him. You've been acquainted with him. He helped me with that, which is like my weakest side of this whole shit, was like the business part of it, right? And like how to monetize the shit, like to the point where he even sat down and broke a piece off for me for like these ads, or like this course where we're learning about music marketing and everything. And it's cool because marketing as a whole, you can really apply to more than just music. So
facts.
He's also on the podcast with Dill, as you guys have previously met in a different episode. So
Future episodes as well.
Yeah.
Look out for that, y'all.
For sure.
So, you know, you can expect marketing on that end as well as my end, right? And in terms of the engineering side, that was a lot of research, like learning, okay, what are my favorite artists? What are my favorite songs? Who's really behind the scenes on that shit, right? And
who's actually doing what?
Yes. And like learning who the engineers are. Okay, now that I got the name, let me go see if they're a master of their craft. So let me go see if they've been talking to people and teaching them how to do things. Because a lot of the time, people that are on the creative end, they love teaching people how to do shit, right? Like that's part of why you guys' podcast is a thing, because y'all love teaching people how to move forward and
through these tough times, man. Through these trials, tribulations,
tough times,
you getting
like
scars.
Mapping a road out for them, letting them know how to do certain things, teaching them certain things, and I think that's like a shared trait for a lot of people that are creatives, because really a lot of people in the creative industry wouldn't be where they're at without somebody giving them free game.
That mentor,
right?
Big.
Yeah.
You need somebody there that is where you want to be, but is willing to break it down to you in digestible pieces so that you hear them, but you can actually experience it as well too. So that's something that I think is really big as far as mentorship. Sure. And that's a perfect segue into the final talk, into that album. You know, your very first album, something that is different from all the previous mixtapes and singles. How was that for you, releasing your very first album, and what was the difference in that creative process? I know you touched on it a little bit prior to.
I would say the difference in the creative process was learning what to keep and what not to keep. Because I came from a period of just finishing something was an accomplishment.
That's the goal.
Yeah, like just finishing something was enough, and then I would put it out, like whether that be a song or whatever, or a cover or whatever. Like that was cool, but with the album, it was discerning whether or not something should be on there, right? Like I had more tracks done than I had initially put on the project, but when I went back and listened to everything, there were certain tracks that I didn't really feel like should be on the project, whether that be because I don't feel like re-recording something, or I feel like maybe the writing is not, it doesn't represent me how I thought it was, or how I wanted it to sound, or maybe I really just like the song for a certain line, but I didn't really like the rest of the song. You know what I mean? Like, I'll just scrap a whole song and then I'll just keep the line and I'll just save it for later.
Yeah.
I like, if you go through my notes, I have tons, like hundreds of just notes, and I'll just, if I have an idea, I think that's important for a lot of people to do. No matter what your creative profession is, if you have an idea in that moment, either write it down, record it, take a picture, take a video, do something, because a lot of the times, that magic that you get in that moment doesn't come back.
That's crazy that you said that, because I'm reading this book. And the book pretty much said that exact same thing. Like, if you have like an idea pop up at that moment, write it down, because 10 times out of 10 it's not coming back.
Yeah.
So it's crazy that you said that just now.
Yeah, 'cause it, like, that happens a lot, and it happens more than some people would think. It happens at a technical level, or even an artistic level, or at a performance where, you know, if you hit a certain note, maybe like it's a note that's out of your range or whatever, if somebody was singing, but then you hit it, or you capture emotion. Capturing emotion is something it's hard to describe, it's hard to do, and it's hard to watch for. So when you have it, sometimes it's worth more than, let's say, we caught an emotional take, but the audio was distorted. Who gives a fuck if the audio is distorted at that point? Because you captured what's the most important thing.
The most authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's better to capture the moment rather than rehearse it. It's like, and that's kind of why, you know, like, that's what makes live shit different, right? Like, when you watch a game live,
Twitch
it's
different than YouTube.
Twitch could be different than YouTube. It's like, you know that everything that happens in that moment, if you're on the inside, because some people still think that shit's rehearsed.
Everything is fictitious.
But if you're on the inside, the feeling that you get when you capture something in a moment that you know can't really be redone again, I feel like that's like a different feeling for sure.
Balancing a job and music can be very difficult.
You gotta throw a girlfriend in there too.
That's a full-time job as well for y'all out there.
It's very time consuming, but do you ever plan to go full time being an artist or a producer in the upcoming future?
For sure.
No doubt.
If I am able to, I mean, at that point, in terms of finances, that's just a numbers game. So if I'm able to hit a certain dollar amount, if I'm able to live off my music, really, people might not think this, but like, somebody who's able to supplement their full-time income, or not supplement, but replace their full-time income with their creative income, you're doing better than the vast majority of people in your space. Because a lot of people just like to try shit, or a lot of people just like to do this here and there. But the moment that you're able to replace your full-time income and really make a living off of your creative work, I think that's when people should really just sit down and start considering it, because then you're looking at other factors like growth, potential growth. Like, if you're still doing your other job,
monetary value. Like,
if you're still doing your other job, who's to say that that's not limiting you in some way, or if you're just focusing on the money, right? Like, money is definitely important. But like I said, I was going to do music regardless if I made a dime or not. The expensive-ass studio and just no income coming in would be kind of crazy, but
that's not feasible. Yeah. Realistically, for y'all, that passion doesn't pay bills, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that's where the practicality, I guess, like, to bring everything full circle, that's where the practicality comes into play. And, you know, for those that wonder, I do use my computer science degree. Yes, it's a valuable degree, and it gets me paid. So if you have a passion for it, on top of the practicality of it, definitely pursue that. I just have a different passion, and it shows, But I will say that most people do need to try shit, right? That's one thing I'll always tell the younger people that come into my life asking for advice is that 9 times out of 10, most people don't even know what they wanted to do, right? Like you can go to high school and I'll be in high school, I'll be at practice and thinking that I have these fucking hoop dreams when really that's not really what I wanted to do.
I'm not going to school for this. That's
yeah.
It was a talent, but not my best talent.
Yeah, like there's that aspect of it. But if you're gonna pursue something, definitely like give it your all. Like I definitely feel like for me, and I don't mean this in a conceited way at all, I'm just super confident about this philosophy, is that everybody should have a Midas touch when it comes to whatever the fuck it is that
That's
they
that
do.
gold touch, if y'all ain't know.
Like everybody should have that Midas touch. I told you about it. I'm trying to get the tattoo for it because anything that I've set my mind to or that I built a passion for, I got good at. Like I think one of the best examples and most unexpected examples from me would be like my photography. I didn't know that photography would get me through my financial hardships in college, but it did. And I got good at that shit. And I started from basically scratch, never really advertised like that. And I was getting people booking me
through word of
mouth.
mouth.
What I do. Yeah.
Turn to talent to hustle.
And I'm going to tell you, my grad photos was done by this man as well. And
yeah, peeped them on the UC Merced website. Yeah.
You know, I did an article for them and they had to reach out to my guy for permission for that photo. But like you said, it's turning that Midas touch into something that benefits you in the way that you need it to, whether it's monetary, creative, or just being an outlet, just letting it be a service to you.
A lot of people don't understand too, though. Like 9 times out of 10, if you're really passionate about something, it's gonna lead to an income regardless. Just for the simple fact that you're genuinely doing this, not for the money. The money's gonna follow it naturally. So,
what do you hope this career yields as far as success for you?
I feel like,
and you and talking shit. If you say you want to make $1 million, you want to make $1 million. If you want to
pop it, man.
If you want to get that $10 million cash cold record deal, say that.
I feel like success, and this is gonna sound hella generic, but I think that shit is real. I think success, you change the goalposts on yourself all the time, and I think each time that you put one, on the shelf, you display one on the shelf, each time you hit one, that should be considered success in and of itself.
Those small steps.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people fail to remember or realize that, like, the shit that they're doing, not everybody else is doing. Or the shit that they're doing, not everybody else can do.
Right.
You know what I mean? One moment that I'll know I've made it, though, is something that I've always planned to do is when the shit pop off,
you feel me?
I do want to put, like, studios in prisons and underprivileged communities. That's always been, like, a thing for me.
Give back.
Especially, like, prisons, because I feel like some of the best music was made in prison. And that's like some people might be like, oh, well, they're in there for a reason, whatever, blah, blah, blah. They don't have nothing to do but to either become more destructive or get better. Like, really, that's
two options.
Yeah, you really only have two options.
Yeah.
And so for the people that do, I feel like there's not enough opportunity presented to people that are incarcerated, and like having that, like building something out of there. I've always thought that was dope.
That would be dope.
That accessibility.
Yeah, and like I said, like some of the best music came out of there. So, and people don't have nothing but time on their hands while they're in there.
That's
like,
facts.
Bro,
just you and you.
You got Wayne who made music. You got Pac who made music out there. It would be, I would say, like a new wave of just like, I think that might create a new wave of music, just like creating dope ass content.
I think it will too, just because a lot of times on the internet when you see these clips go viral, somebody in jail who got a pen using their hand. They're on a window making a beat, and they talking something that's really like that'll touch your soul. So that's
how you know
idea.
who's really about it too, because they're doing the shit with the bare minimum.
Yeah.
I think when you can do shit with the bare minimum, then when you give them the tools,
anybody can be successful if I got the newest. True. Not necessarily successful, but anybody could produce this result if I had these things. But when I could produce that result with nothing, that speaks more.
Yeah, for sure.
Me too. What part of the music profession do you believe to be the biggest misconception between those who want to pursue music and those who actually make music?
I think the journey is the biggest discernment. Like, I think the people that think the shit is easy is one of the bigger differences. And that's mainly just because the work that people put in. I think some people, I mean, kind of like you said with school, sometimes it'll come easy to people, sometimes it don't. It's just a matter of who's able to stick to it. And outside of sticking to it, we're in a game where you're judged not based off of you like everybody else judges you. You know what I mean? So your success isn't solely defined by you necessarily.
By those you allow into that space. And
that I think that plays a big role, because if you have somebody who just starts tomorrow and they're expecting, like 10,000 streams is something that they could just do off the rip, or 1 million streams is something that they could do off the rip, and then they don't hit that, you might get somebody who quits the next day. But somebody who could stick to it, I think that plays a big role, and that kind of goes back to the not needing to make money off the shit, like doing it just because you
want
love
to.
the shit. Yeah.
The topic, the monetary investment in music is not cheap. Do you have any starter platforms for those out there who are looking to start music?
Starter platform? You mean like just like software and stuff to get started?
Yeah. Like how SoundCloud changed the game for a lot of people who wanted to put music out. Like, what are things that you used or that you would advise?
I would say for the people that really want to dive into the shit and really want to have their music up on more than just like a SoundCloud platform or like an Instagram platform, like somewhere where you just share, get a distributor. And that's like, your DistroKids, your CD Babies, your TuneCores or whatever. I personally use DistroKid and TuneCore. Those are the main things that you want to get into, and that's who will get your music into the Spotifys, the Tidals, the Apple Musics. You also want to look at your stats. So a lot of those streaming platforms have their analytics up that you can claim and log into. You want to get the basic pieces to record yourself. You need an interface, a microphone, and a software that you record into. This podcast uses the Universal Audio Vault if they'd like to sponsor this podcast.
You feel me? One a house plan as well. Seth Rogen, we looking at you. We watch.
Like I said, you need the software, but there are free softwares like Audacity, or you could do, if you're in college, take advantage of your EDU discounts because they are fat.
Everything.
You could get a lot of software off an EDU discount. And
Final Cut Pro.
Yes.
That's how we got the whole bundle for this. It's $800 total value. We got it for $200 because I'm a student.
Yes.
You feel me?
Logic Pro comes into that. So if you want to do music, Logic Pro is in there. You can produce, you can record, you could do everything that you need in there. And you could just get started with just those things, and you just go through the process, because I promise you, I don't know anybody who's just started the shit and didn't run into a wall with the shit, especially the people that need to wear multiple hats.
Multiple walls.
Yeah. So I would say that's the bare minimum that you need. You get your distributor, which is like, you can get unlimited releases for like $20 a year. You get your computer, you get your interface, and your microphone, and that should be and your software, and that should be all that you need if you want to record yourself. And that's just speaking from the artist perspective.
And that's solid starter setup for those out there that may not have the funds or the environment or the capabilities to do a full out set or full out dedication.
And it can be used for multiple things.
But before we get into the final question of the podcast, we do have some quick hitters. These will be quick questions. You have 1 sentence to answer them to the best of your abilities, and then we'll get into the final question.
Right.
So I'll start it off with, who are 3 top artists that you would like to work with along your music journey?
Fuck. That's tough because some of them are gone. I would say Tory Lanez would probably be one, just because of how versatile he is.
Right.
I'd like to be on a track with Drake. That Stimulus.
Who wouldn't? That Drake Stimulus. You?
Nah, I think if I did do a song with Drake though, I'd want to be popping first.
Yeah.
For sure. Just because I don't want that that's like a championship that got an asterisk to it. I can't do it. My third one, that's a tough one. I don't know who would be my third one.
I make it a little bit more tougher. It gotta be a 80s, 90s.
80s, 90s?
Yeah, just because that's how you came up.
Oh, that's a good one. Can I throw Usher in there?
Okay. You can throw that Usher baby up in there, man.
For sure.
Will you be dropping more music this year?
Oh, for sure. Like I said, once the studio's back and set up, I'm gonna be back in there. I'll be back on my 4 a.m., 5 a.m. shit. And I'll just be back to putting out music. I actually came up with this new thing that I'm doing that I've seen shout out to all the 2000s babies and newer. They're coming up with like hella crazy different ways of being creative.
2000 baby.
Like they're doing this thing on an app called BandLab. And all they're really doing is just recording into the app and just getting all their music out through the app. And I think the app has also become like a social platform for artists to share their music. For me, I'm personally going to just use it as like a personal notebook or personal like stash of tracks I want to record. So I bought a microphone for my iPhone. So when I travel, I could record over the beats that I plan on buying. And then once I'm back in the studio, I just re-record them and just get shit constantly done. So that's like a life hack for you guys if you guys are struggling to put out more content. I'm trying to figure that out. So that's the phase that I'm in. Right now I'm in planning since I can't record anyway, so I always get into like a planning mode.
And he dropping gems for y'all, whether y'all planning or y'all actually executing. Next question, which do you like being more, the artist or mixing and mastering?
I definitely like being the artist more. I think it gets kind of tedious when you got to listen to this. I'm sure you know because you got it like clips and videos, and I think you said you did this recent one too, right? Mm-hmm. You kind of just listen to the same shit
over and over.
That shit gets annoying after a while.
It start feeling like womp, 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 and you just going with the flow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not bad.
So definitely being the artist.
Okay. If you had any advice to give any future producers, engineers, singers, rappers, what would that advice be?
To really like take that first step. I feel like a lot of people are sometimes afraid to take that first step, whether that be like family pressures or like I know anxiety is like a big thing.
Internal,
like
external factors
kids nowadays. So I guess not even younger kids. I guess everybody's.
Yeah, we all troubled.
Anxieties, regardless of what they are, take that first step, and just have that tunnel vision of, this is what you want to do. And it might not be, but like try it. And it doesn't matter what profession that is. That can be applicable to anything, because you'll never know what it is that you're really meant to do until you take that step
and do it.
Yeah.
Solid.
It lead to a lot more steps after that first step.
Hey, and after all these steps of answering these questions, we got one more step for you to overcome. And that is, what's your definition of a scar that you flip to success?
My past or like my upbringing would probably be that, because the way that I was brought up, or like, you know, maybe some like disciplinary actions, or like the way certain things happen to me, some people might feel some type of way about it without getting into too much detail. But I also feel like the things that happen to me, you know, at the end of the day, regardless of what they are, good or bad, like they've always made me who I ended up being as a kid, you know. So I don't hold no grudges or any hate in my heart, or whatever that might be, of how I was brought up as a kid. And it's just, at the end of the day, that's kind of what made me who I am. So who am I to say that I shouldn't have gone through that shit, right? Because if I didn't, then would I end up like somebody else, right? Would I still be who I am?
Have that same success.
Yeah, would I have, even outside of success, would I still have the same morals that I do, right?
Perspective.
Yeah, I feel like that's super important, because we all come from a different time, and I think everybody is raised by a time that doesn't understand. You know what I mean? Like, our parents never understood our time. We don't understand these new kids' time sometimes.
Hey, only the people going through it right then and there concurrently can be relatable in that sense.
And that's what I would say would be like me flipping my scar to success. You know, maybe on another episode we could dive into that. That's a little, a little deeper.
And that's what all these questions are, is just like a sneak peek into who you are, and getting these viewers and this platform for people who maybe identify themselves just like you, or see themselves within the process of the journey that you're having, and want to replicate that, or want to be more efficient in these ways. Sure. So it's always about taking these gems, taking this knowledge, taking this advice, and using it to better your experience.
For sure.
Shout out to the past, appreciate your present, and prepare for the future.
You feel me? All in one. It's hard to do, but we do it all the time. But
I'm not gonna lie, this was a fire episode.
Yeah, this was fire, and you dropped a lot of gems.
Yeah, I like being on here, man. I appreciate y'all for having me.
Y'all better understand, it's a lot of information that he dropped, a lot of platforms, a lot of information, a lot of tips and tricks. So if you're interested in being an engineer or artist, could you share ways to reach you, or even services that you have that you want to plug right now before we go?
So the album is on everything that you could probably think of. I made sure my distributor handled that.
And
so
we're going to have the pictures
we're
up
good
on
to go.
here and everything.
Links down below, everything.
Real is out now. Everybody can reach me at It's The Real Key. That could be Instagram, Twitter, whatever. I'm mainly active on Instagram. That's like my main platform right now. I want to build that TikTok, so if somebody wants to just start following me on TikTok, that'd be cool. I appreciate that.
But before we end it, I just got to show you all. I'm sorry. Do you see this? Real Key. I'm going to put it in the video regardless, but I have to come and show you. Like, fully downloaded. My bad. Got every song.
Fire album.
It's a bop. It's only 11 songs, 35 minutes.
Fire album. And before we officially end this video, I'm gonna pop my shit a little bit.
Yes.
It's out.
Zoom.
We're
gonna have it zoomed in.
I will be copping.
It's out.
I'll be copping
to the top,
for sure.
showing the back.
I gotta bend down.
Yeah, bend down a little bit.
Show y'all the back.
And you guys can't see it, but the quality is dope. It's
100% cotton embroidery stitching. The brand
embroidery
will be
is
dropping
fire.
November 12th.
Coming soon.
Website to be up September. Worldwide shipping.
Thank you, Key, for showing up. Thank you
man.
for fucking with us.
Two in a medium.
Hey, it's good. I got you.
I ain't gonna lie to you. TTT.
That's what we had. Triple T from the bottom to the top. You dig. Thank you for tuning into this video. Make sure you like this.
6.
Make sure you comment on this video. Make sure
Subscribe.
you share this video. Subscribe. Tune into the album. See y'all in episode 7. We march and continue to subscribe. We appreciate you guys. Thank you. We out.
We out.
Peace.